What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It has been forever, I know. I've been trying to crank out a hunting vlog, actually. But that's only gonna work if, I can shoot a deer. And that hasn't happened yet. Regardless, today, I'm so excited because I was able to get my hands on a Karl's Bait and Tackle mystery tackle box, Motherlode box. I'm so excited to pop this thing open for you guys. I heard a rumor that they were sold out already, and I ordered mine a couple days ago. I don't know if that's true or not. I'll confirm that, but I heard that they were sold out. So like I said, I'm really happy I was able to get my hands on one. It's funny, actually. I saw them come out, and I saw John and a couple other people post on their Insta stories kind of advertising it, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I should grab one of those just in case it sells out. But because it was we're kind of going into the holiday season, I was like, should I just kind of wait? And I was kind of on the fence, but I saw John B upload his slam video onto YouTube, and I was like, okay, let's just try this. Let's just see what happens here. Let's make my decision a little easier. And I commented, and I was like, you know what? You comment back, and I will buy one. I'll order it tonight. I'll do it. And Lord have mercy on me, because I actually didn't think he was going to respond. I forgot he was the GOAT. I'm sorry. But he responded in like 10 minutes. So needless to say, it made my decision a little bit easier to get one. At the end of the day, I'm going to stop talking because I don't think any of you guys care. For those of you who don't know, beyond the fact that we've got 12 to 15 baits, around what, $80 value? Yep, I've seen 2 videos of unboxing it and fishing with it, John B and Fishing with Becca. I'm gonna link their videos down in the description. I also know that there's a promo code in here that you can win smaller prizes, Guggen rods and stuff like that, but you can also win a bass boat. Obviously that's probably a fat chance, but we'll see what happens. I may show that to you guys as well. But that's just something else beyond, kind of just an incentive beyond just getting some baits. But that's all I really cared about. All right, I'm popping into it. Come on. All right, we got there. Grab our what's inside thing. I'm not gonna look at it right now. I'm just gonna reference it if I need to. I'm just gonna go through these. I'm assuming most of these are gonna be like MTB exclusives and stuff like that. Probably some 10,000 Fish, Guggen, some actual Karl's products. And I doubt there's gonna be much more than that, maybe some Mike Buddha. But like I said, I don't think I'm gonna need to reference it. I think it's gonna be pretty recognizable stuff. But regardless, we're gonna hop in. So starting, of course, yes, we've got a Guggen Squad. We've got the Guggen Squad clutch. So we got Sexy Shad color, which I think that's, I was gonna reference the Strike King color comparative, because that's pretty much what this is. You got the white, the yellow, and then the kind of the blue diamond on top. There's 2 Guggen Squad lures that I've gotten for myself, and I have been 100% pleased, totally worth the money. One of them is the clutch. I've gotten that Craw color, that Fire Craw. And then the other is the Lunker Log, which I don't know if it'll be in here or not, but the other ones I'm like, okay, they're fine. They probably aren't worth the extra money, but I like them regardless. But I really like the clutch, and I think that's going to be obviously right now, being in Maine, I can't exactly go out and fish with these baits, but I think come spring, as these bass move in, especially in my position where I'm able to fish the white perch run, these bass come in and feed on those perch. I think that's going to be absolutely killer. It's going to be a relatively big profile, I guess, if you're going after large and smallmouth. It's got that kind of white natural perch color. I think that's going to be absolutely killer. So we got a Jenko crankbait, 7 to 9 feet, the CD7 Silent, in like I don't want to say like yellow brown color because that makes it sound ugly. It's less natural, I guess, but it's still not like an overwhelming color. It's not like bright red or anything like that. Or I'm trying to look to see if it has a root beer. I like root beer more than yellow brown. But I like that color. 7 to 9 foot diver. It's better for probably a little bit of offshore. I feel like when I talk about depths, I feel like people probably are like, Zach, what are you talking about? 7 to 9 feet, that's not even that deep. You can fish that off the bank. Personally, I do a majority of my fishing at my camp up in the Belgrade Lakes, and my home pond where my camp is like dummy shallow. If I'm fishing on the shore or off the bank, I'm fishing in like 2 to 3 feet max. So I can only use, if anything, like square bills and stuff like that. And I think that's mostly the reason I'm not a huge crankbait person, because I do probably 90% of my fishing on that pond, and I don't have a boat. So most of it's from the bank. I think that's probably why I just don't use a lot of crankbaits. I just think that's probably why I'm a lot more keen on topwater and stuff like that, and jigs and Senkos and stuff like that. But regardless, I'm hoping next season to be able to get offshore a little bit, if nothing else, just with a kayak. And at the end of the day, I've been starting to stockpile up my crankbait supply. It's a lot of people's go-to bait. I've been talking about it too long. A Vexan Deep Thud crank, another crankbait. This one's like massive. I mean, take it from a guy who doesn't do any crankbait fishing, but like that's kind of the crankbait size I would, if I was gonna grab a crankbait, that's what I would use, and that's the Vexan comparison. The bill looks similar in size, so I imagine it'll dive maybe just a little deeper just because of the size of the body. Oh, it says up here, I'm down. Depth, 8 feet. So, and this was, what, 7 to 9 feet? So yeah, these are basically just similar depths as far as diving goes. So if you're targeting some more finicky bass, some smaller size overall, this is probably the bait to go with. But if you're going for those big giants, this is definitely what I'll be going with. Like I said, I don't do a lot of crankbait fishing, but I think this would be a fun bait to throw, especially up in my pond where we have a lot of pike. I think this would actually be a really good pike lure, kind of upping that size a little bit. Next, we have got the 10,000 fish saw craw in black and blue. Black and blue has honestly become one of my favorite colors in the last 2 years. I never touched it up until probably 2 years ago, and even before that, I didn't even really use soft plastics. The last couple of years is really when I've gotten into soft plastic fishing. Before that, it was pretty much just like jerk baits and spinner baits. That's pretty much all I would ever use, and maybe like a Senko or a ribbon tail, like once in a blue moon. I've said this before, but in the heat of the summer up at my pond, especially in the creek that our camp is on, the water gets really tinted, especially the last couple years where we've had some pretty bad algae blooms. So the black and blue has gone from one of my least favorites to one of my all-time favorite colors. It works pretty good. Obviously, I'll choose a more natural color if the water's clearer, but it works just fine in clear water, and then in dirty water, it's lights out. I really like the size of the saw craw. It's like, I feel like as far as most plastics go, especially craw plastics, it is massive. Again, like with those in the middle of the summer where you're going after those massive bass, I think it actually will work pretty good. Looks like we've got a couple of Z-Man baits right on top here, so we'll roll through those. We got the Z-Man TRD ticklers. So we've got some Ned style baits. It's almost like a Ned rig. It's a mix between a Ned rig bait and a tube style bait. You've got these little phalanges on the back, and then you've got the front, obviously Ned style plastic. When I first started getting into plastic fishing, the Ned rig was something I fished a fair amount. It just felt like a really easy way to fish a plastic but also drop it to the bottom, and it worked pretty good. But recently I've realized a lot of the ponds I fish, my local spots, are really weedy on the bottom, so it's hard to bounce that Ned rig unless you get offshore, which again, I don't get offshore. I do almost all my fishing from the bank. So I still like the Ned rig, but if I'm fishing onshore and I want a finesse style, I usually will go with like a weightless Senko or something like that. But like I said, hoping to get offshore more this season, and to that end, looks like, oh my God, we got a double. It's the exact same thing. We got 2 packs of the exact, it's the same color, same everything. I wonder if that was intentional. I'll have to count the baits up after this. I wonder if they intentionally, if it's intentional, I'm kind of weirded out about that. Why would they put 2 of the exact same thing in? But if it's unintentional, hey, I mean, I'll take an extra pack of baits. They're, yeah, exactly the same color. Both are TRD ticklers. Huh. Next we have got, oh, so I believe that's the Eliminator. There is no, hold on. I'm missing the outer package for my Eliminators. It's not in the box. So did they just like, they're like, oh, we lost the outside packaging from his Eliminator. What do we do? Just throw in an extra Z-Man. Who cares? This is probably the bait, though, to lose the outside packaging for. I mean, it's so recognizable. I got it in a mystery tackle box, I think, 2 years ago, like almost right when it came out. And I really didn't like it that much. I tried it a few times, didn't catch anything on it. I just didn't like the style. I think it's because that was when I was really getting into using Craw style baits. And it really didn't do it for me. I really didn't like the way it moved. But I also think, now that I've kind of developed my fishing game a little bit better, I think it would actually work a lot better as almost like a topwater frog or weedless, because I was throwing it on the back of a jig. I think on the back of a swim jig it would actually look pretty good. It looks like we've got just our basic green pumpkin color. I don't know that because I don't have the outside package. Regardless, mixed feelings on the Eliminator. I didn't like it when I first used it, but I also don't think I really gave it a fair trial, a fair shot. I only used it for probably an hour, didn't catch anything. Next, we have got the Guggen Squad Blooper, just in a straight up black, which I think I can't complain about. Like I've talked about before, topwater is one of my favorite bites I can get into. For the most part, I try to go with, like, especially now, I try to go with like a jitterbug or a spook or something that covers a little more water a little bit faster. But if I'm fishing in the creek, I'll throw a popper, and like 9 times out of 10, it is lights out in the summer up there. I really like the black color just because you can use it pretty much anywhere, even in darker water where they can't really see. I mean, black still works pretty good. It's not the most natural color in the world, but it's not obnoxiously unnatural. So, like I say, I think as far as topwater goes, I think if you can only get one color, I think black is usually the way to go. And so I do appreciate that I have the black color. All right, got a few more in here. Looks like we got 4 or 5 more items. And we have got the Mike Bucca baby bull shed. This is something I don't, if you remember back, I actually was like, oh, we might get like a Mike Bucca in here. He did release a new swim bait, right? It was like a bluegill style. I figured they might throw some of those in the boxes just because to advertise the new product, but hey, I'll take a bull shed every day. I haven't had a lot of luck on them. For those of you who've been around for a while on the channel, back when I did my first mystery tackle box unboxings like 2 summers ago, I had a bull shad in my August box. I do remember that. I took it out in the kayak fishing. I was coming back, my camera had already died. Go figure. But it was just past sunset in August, and I was reeling in, and I could see some bait jumping around me. And usually there's some usually that's a good indication that there's some bass around. They'd kind of pushed the bait up into this cove, and so I was casting around, and I got the bait, the bull shad. I had the pearl white. This looks like the threadfin shad color, but I had the pearl white, and that's what I have now. I got a second one. But I was tossing this around, and it got close enough that I could see it come in. And I swear to God, a pike came up behind it, grabbed it. It was big enough that it swallowed the whole thing, got to my 12-pound fluoro, and just snapped it off. I never even got a chance to set the hook. The pike was big enough that I got around this whole profile without even, I didn't feel a tap, so it didn't touch the bait at all. I felt no pressure change. It literally got all the way around and got to my fluoro and absolutely snapped me off. So, kind of like the Eliminator, I kind of have a love-hate. That's literally the only bite I've ever gotten on a bull shad. But I really respect Mike Bucca and kind of that brand for what they're doing. I really like the style of swim bait. I mean, when you're watching it in the water, it looks lights out. I think it's mostly just bad luck that I haven't got another bite on it yet, because I fish in a pond with huge bass, pike. I really like the bait, and I'm looking forward to throwing it. Now that I've got a second one, I don't have to feel so nervous about throwing it because it is kind of an expensive bait. A couple more here. We have got 3/8 ounce Karl's Amazing Spinner. I've got a lot of, I say a lot of history. I mean, spinner baits are my go-to bait. If I don't know what to throw, I'm throwing a spinner bait. Like some people are with their crankbaits, or some people are like with a chatterbait. I will always, 100% of the time, if I don't know a spot, or if I don't know what they're biting, I will always throw a spinner bait to start off. It is just so easy to throw. There's so many different ways you can throw it. You can throw it basic, you can put a trailer hook on, you can throw a trailer on here, depending on what you're going for. If you can fish it slow, you can fish it fast. Beyond that, I actually got this in one of my mystery tackle boxes last year. I actually was throwing this last spring, and I caught, this was probably a week before the perch run, so the bass, the smallmouth were starting to stage in the creek. I threw this spinnerbait with, I believe, a saucy swimmer on the back, and it was lights out for like a half a day. I probably caught, there was one point where I literally think I caught probably 4 in 15 minutes, just walking back and forth on this strip on the creek. But it got to that point where you catch a bunch of big fish, even really well-made products like with the mustad hooks, and I respect Karl's a lot for their products. But you get to a breaking point, especially when you're reeling in big bass. I mean, most of these smallmouth were 3 pounds plus. And then I hooked onto a big largemouth, probably a 3-4 pounder, and it literally snapped the spinnerbait in half. I reeled it back in, and all I had was the eye hook and my 2 blades. I had completely lost this piece of the bait. The wire just snapped. And like I said, that's not, in that instance, I don't think that's neglecting quality. I just think, like I said, every bait has its breaking point. I mean, you catch them, especially spinner baits. That's my one downside, I guess, with spinner baits. Once you're reeling in and your line is on that eye hook, all of the weight of that fish and you pulling in these 2 different directions is all on that line and that knot and that thin wire, between the actual bait and the blades. But that's the only spinnerbait I've ever broken up there. And like I said, it's not because it's a bad product. I just think it's because it hit a breaking point. Long-winded way of saying, love spinnerbaits, great bait. Always one of my go-tos. We've got 2 jigs here. We've got a 1/4 ounce, Dobbins? A 1/4 ounce Dobbins hand-tied football jig with Gamakatsu hooks. Gamakatsu? Yeah, I nailed it. Red and black, so it's kind of, it's somewhat similar in the vein like black and blue, just it's something that's going to stand out in some murky water. I've never personally used red and black, anything really, except for like watermelon flake, but that's pretty much just green pumpkin with a little bit of red. But I'd imagine it's similar to a black and blue. I just have had so much success with black and blue, I didn't really feel the need to get anything that was different colored. And then we've got a lumberjack 3/8 ounce flipping jig. Looks like almost like a PB&J color. I don't know if that's what they actually call it. Yeah, PB&J. I know that's what the Guggen jigs will call that color. So yeah, we got a PB&J 3/8 ounce. 3/8 ounce is usually my kind of like go-to jig size. A lot of the ponds that I will fish from the bank are really weed choked on the bottom, especially toward the later end of summer. 1/4 ounce, I feel like I can't really get out that far, especially if I'm using my heavy setup with all that braid. It's just too thin, it's too finessey. And then anything bigger than a 3/8 ounce, I tried a 3/4 ounce once, which was way too big. And I tried a 1/2 ounce, which was kind of borderline. But a lot of the time that weight will just sink into the weeds. Whereas opposed to anything that's like 3/8 ounce is heavy enough that I can kind of flip it out there, even with heavy braid. But it also, for the most part, will sit on top of those weeds, especially if I'm kind of just bouncing it very softly. It never really sinks into those weeds, which is, like I said, I think the 3/8 ounce is probably my go-to size. I think it's pretty perfect for the water that I use. But I also know there's a lot of spots where finesse style jigs really come in handy. For instance, my cousin's pond, it's always completely clear. It's all rocky and sandy on the bottom. I mean, red and black isn't ideal, but a 1/4 ounce jig would be perfect in that water. And the last two I'm gonna also do together. We've got Eagle Claw, what size? We got EWG hooks. We got 3 of them, a size 4/0. And then we have got some tungsten 1/4 ounce worm weights. Obviously these goes together to make a Texas rig. The only thing I need are some more bobber stoppers. Honestly, we got a really good Texas rig. I've never used tungsten weights, but I've heard they're pretty much the end all be all of bullet weights. Especially toward the end of the season, like I said, the weeds get really choked up. A Texas rig is usually what I'll go with instead of a jig, only because it's obviously you can make it weedless. You still get that action with a craw. This is like this with a bobber stop is going to be absolutely killer with those saw craws. Come July, when that water starts to get its tint up at my camp, I probably will never untie a Texas rig with a saw craw or a black and blue. My go-to craw is usually like the Strike King Rage Tail. I just have caught so many. I think that coffee scent really helps. I think that saw craw is huge, I think, comparatively. So I think that'll actually be really fun to play with as well. Nothing crazy to say about EWG hooks. They're my go-to. I use them for pretty much everything, even just like basic Senko fishing. I've never had a reason why I shouldn't use an EWG hook as opposed to like a basic worm hook or something like that. 1/4 ounce for Texas rigs, I think kind of similar to the 3/8 ounce jig, I think is that really happy middle ground. I think that 1/2 ounce or 3/8 ounce bullet weight kind of will tend to sink a little bit more than jig will. That's just my personal experiences, but that is everything in the box. So we've got quite a bit of stuff there. I'm not really sure what's going on here with the double ticklers and the no outer packaging for the eliminators. The last thing to do is just to check to see if we want a boat. And I'm guessing it's this guy right here. Yep. We got our promo code. You know what? You're here. We're all here. Let's just go see if we want a boat. Enter our code. Oh, my promo code is not a winner. Who would have guessed? You know what? Not a big deal, because I got some great baits all right behind you in front of me. And I got one more surprise that I want to show you guys. I was gonna wait and do a whole video on it, but the video is taking a lot more time than I thought it was going to, like next spring, long time. So I'm gonna show you right now. And there she is right there. She does not look like much, but I paid almost nothing for that thing. It's definitely a fixer-upper, and that's what this series is gonna be. I didn't buy that boat expecting something that I was gonna be able to just hop on the water with. I bought it at the end of the season as a fixer-upper. I know it's gonna need a fair amount of work, and now I'm actually really excited about that because I'm able to post that experience with you guys. As I learn to do this kind of stuff with that boat, I'm able to post it to you guys. Maybe I can help you guys learn some stuff. Probably not. I'm not an expert. I'm definitely not any sort of mechanic. So it's mostly just gonna be kind of coming along for the journey. It's not gonna be a real educational process. Regardless, I'm so excited. I couldn't hold it in. Just thinking about next year where it's gonna hopefully be done and refurbished and all good, not be so bound to public land and fishing area on shore. It's gonna feel really freeing, and I'm really excited to bring you guys on that journey with me. At the end of the day, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I had a ton of fun unboxing that box for you guys, and I had some really exciting news with that boat. At this point, the next content's probably gonna be ice fishing content, as sad as that is to say, considering it's still November, unless I'm able to pop a deer tonight or tomorrow. That's it. The hunting season ends for whitetail tomorrow. And then we've just got some time where we wait for the ice to form and we go ice fishing. So if you have any ideas for ice fishing videos, drop them in the comments. I can't do a slam on that box because, you know, winter in Maine. But like I said, I'm gonna drop some videos in the description of people doing the slam. Like I said, I know John B did one. I know Fishing with Becca did one. I'm sure there's others, but I'm gonna drop those two in the description because those are the two that I've seen and those are the two that I know about. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, and subscribe if you wanna see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.